Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head over to Franconia in Germany once again, a very famous region of the country, in fact the highest density of breweries per head of the population of anywhere in the world, and a really beautiful part of Germany, so do check it out if you go over there. But this region of course has many breweries like I said, and we're going to visit one of the newest breweries today. So this is Binkert Brauhaus, and we're going to have a taste of their Seidla porter beer, and it's actually quite unusual to find a black beer in Germany that's called porter, because this is more of an English or American name that you'll find for black beers today. The equivalent German beer probably is the Schwarzbier in fact, so quite cool to find this one, but you'll see why it's called porter as I take you through the brief history of the brewery. So I'll just take you through that history now. It will only be a minute or so long, but if you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. The brewery website's in the video description for you below, available in the original German and a translated English version. There's a link down there that will take you to my future reviews that I'll do from Binkert Brauhaus as well, so check that out, and please feel free to connect with me through my Untappd profile or my Facebook page. You'll find all of those links in the video description below. So anyway, this brewery, as I told you, is a very new one in Franconia. So it was founded in 2012 in Breitengüßbach, which is a small town of about 4,500 people in the Bamberg district in Upper Franconia. It's just a little bit to the north of Bamberg actually. But the brewery is owned and operated by Anja and Jörg Binkert. Anja deals with the sort of running of the restaurant, while Jörg is the main brewer there. And it's meant to be quite a nice little brew house, so I'll need to get up there and try it the next time I go and visit my friend Daniel in Bamberg. So the brewery was set up for about €1 million, and it has its own hop garden as well, which is run by the Binkert family and their friends. But Jörg says he was inspired by blending the idea of the American craft microbrewery with the ancient Franconian tradition. So there's a good mix of sort of more American styles, I guess, like the porter, but with the traditional German styles like the Weizen and things. So it's quite cool. He's taken the sort of restaurant concept or gastropub concept and blended it with sort of old styles of German beer. But all the malts are sourced locally from the Bamberg region, or from the Upper Franconian region if you like, and they also have their own hop garden, so you're getting a truly quite unique beer from Brauhaus Binkert. And if you go and look at the website, it looks like a very nice little place to go and have some food and enjoy a few beers. So as I say, do check it out. But they said on their website as well that their brew kit was €250,000, so that gives you an idea of the kind of scale of investment that's gone into this brewery. And if you read, there's an article I found on the brewery that said Jörg asked Anja if she thought it'd be a good idea to open up a brewery. She asked him if he was crazy, and then very quickly came round to the idea. So they're quite dedicated people, so I'm sure their beers will be very good. So just to list the other beers that you can get from Brauhaus Binkert, there's the Amber Spezial, the Bock beer, the Keller beer, the Keller Pils, the Original, the Porter, and also the Weizen beer. So there's a good kind of range there. It almost sounds a bit like a bit of a mix of English styles and German styles if you like. So they've got the Bock, the Keller Pils, and the Original are all German styles, the Weizen too, but then the Porter and the Amber I would guess are more of a sort of English style of beer, but I don't know, but we'll soon find out with this porter beer here. So let me just bring up the camera and I'll let you have a little quick look at the artwork on this one. I won't bring it too close because the light will go crazy, but you can see it's quite a nice modern style label. You can see the Breitengüßbach symbol, the town symbol just on top there. I think it's one of the town crests. The one that I saw on Wikipedia and Frankenwiki was actually a bit different, but nicely presented. So they've got their own bottle caps as well, which is quite unusual for such a new brewery. So that's quite a cool little point there. And it says on the bottom just ingredients: Wasser, Gerstenmalz, roast malts, Hopfen and Hefe. So it's got wheat. I think Hefe is wheat. It's got hops in it, roasted malts. I think barley malts would be Gerstenmalz, and water as well. So it's brewed, of course, in accordance with the Franconian purity law, or the Bavarian purity law, which is now the Reinheitsgebot of all of Germany. So however you want to take that, but very good quality beer we have here. It comes in at 5.2% in alcohol. So let's get this guy open and we'll get on with the tasting here. So now I've lost that bottle cap, but I'm sure the beer will be good nonetheless. As I'm just pouring it out here, you can get, I got a little hint of a kind of candied fruit as it came out the bottle there. So it should be a very nice and interesting one. This Daniel had told me he tried the the Mein Seidla Porter before, and he said that it was quite a nice beer, so I actually am quite looking forward to this. Daniel, of course, was the one who introduced me to the Bamberg Rauch beers, and this is where my love of beer really came from, and not just German beer, my love of beer in general came from Bamberg really when I went to visit Daniel there. So as you can see, it's actually poured quite a nice mahogany colour. I'm not sure how well you can see it on the camera, but it does have a good kind of reddish ruby tinge to it. There's a little bit of sediment just floating around in the bottom of the glass there, and there's a half finger of a kind of frothy beigey coloured head there. That's just fading away to be a very thin foamy layer, but there's a good bit of big bubbles just sticking to the side of the glass there, but a lot of little ones going up towards the bottom of the head, so it looks really nice. The beer, it's not transparent. If I put my fingers behind it you can't see it, but I think it really is just because of the colour of the beer, but a nice sort of mahogany colour, and I'm not sure how well you can see it, but if I take this up to the light you can see that there's a good kind of slightly rubyish edge to this beer. So let's give it a smell and see how we get on with this one. Quite interesting in the nose actually. There's a good bit of coffee, like sort of roasted coffee bitterness in there, but there's a nice kind of tint of caramel to it as well, and some chocolatey sweetness coming out. So that's all elements that you would expect, of course, of a porter beer. But there's a bit of a kind of German rye bread in there too, and I always like that with these porter beers, when you get a nice little bit of a brown bread character to it. Always comes out really nice. Definite presence of a nutty or woody element coming out of it too. Some earthy bitterness, and there is a good little bit of red fruit coming out too. I think it's more of a figgy, quite a smooth figgy red note, red fruit ester that's coming out of this one. You can smell those red esters just quite nicely. It makes the beer smell just a little bit juicy. But the most comprehensive element, or the biggest element to the aroma, definitely is the sort of coffee, roasted coffee coming out of it. Some nice chocolate sweetness and a bit of that earthy hop character, and some of the nutty and woody aromas too. So it smells exactly like what you would expect from a porter, but that nice juicy fruity character is quite interesting as well. So without further ado, let's get stuck into this guy. So this is the Mein Seidla Porter from Binkert Brauhaus in Breitengüßbach, just to the north of Bamberg in Upper Franconia in northern Bavaria in Germany. Prost. Now that's really nice actually. Quite an interesting blend of flavours. I'm picking up that this beer has a nice big solid bready German rye bread base to it, so that just blankets the middle of your tongue, and on top of that you're getting a nice kind of roasted coffee bitterness to this. It's not too strong, it is quite medium, but the flavour is there, and it just blends together very well. To me, this beer is very well blended together. There is a nice bit of a caramel sweetness that just goes down the very middle of your palate, right in a line just down the very middle of your tongue there. Could be a little bit darker, maybe a bit of a kind of treacly or molasses flavour, but there's a definite caramel, treacly sweetness right down the middle of your palate with this beer. The flavours in this one just blend together really well. I've only had one or two sips of it, but you can see that with it already. Yeah, I would stick with that. You get this nice, slightly rye bread flavour that just blankets the middle of your palate. Some nice sweet chocolate on top of that as well. A little bit of caramelly or treacle flavour just going right down the middle of the tongue, and a good slightly coffee bitterness just building up around the edges of your palate as well. It works really quite nicely actually. There's a good blend of malty flavours in this beer. There is a good bit of a sort of nutty and woody flavour to this one. That coffee bitterness comes out a bit more in the aftertaste. You can just feel it building as you go into the aftertaste of this beer, so really quite nicely done actually. The malt characters in this beer really are beautiful. They just go together so well. I definitely need to go to Breitengüßbach the next time I visit Daniel in Bamberg and have a meal at this brewery and just try a few of their different beers, because this one really is quite good actually. I got this in a Getränkemarkt in Bamberg. I think it was actually a Lidl's Getränkemarkt, so I'm really impressed with this beer, I have to admit that. Around the edges of the palate where you're getting the sort of hoppy characteristics of the beer, there's a nice quite smooth earthy hop character just at the back edges of the tongue there, right in the corner, and some grassiness just going around the front kind of curve of the tongue, and there is a bit of a red fruity ester coming out of this beer. You'll feel a little oily bubble just behind the very front curve of the tongue there, and you're getting a nice sort of figgy flavour in there, and there's maybe a little bit of a sharper raisiny element to it as well, but there is that definite nice smooth juicy fig character to this beer, and some raisiny elements on top of it. But as I've said, the malt flavours just blend together so well. A nice German rye bread base, a bit of coffee bitterness, but some chocolate sweetness and caramel treacly molasses flavours right down the middle. And the earthy hop in the back corners of the palate, that just builds a nice bridge between the malty side of the beer and the hoppiness. It's quite a nice smooth earthy character that you get from that one. It works really, really well. So in terms of the mouthfeel of this one, definitely mid-bodied. It's got a nice smooth carbonation to it, slightly oily as well. There's a good bit of malty sweetness to this one, but at the same time there is a little bit of dryness from the cereal character in the sort of rye bread flavours that you get, and also from the coffee bitterness too. But there is an element of juiciness to this beer, as I say, with that little oily bubble where the fruit flavours come out behind the very front of the tongue. So overall, this is actually a very, very nice porter beer. It's not the same as, it's almost halfway between a Schwarzbier and an American porter, if that makes sense. It has the nice bigger bready character, and it's not quite as aggressive in the coffee flavours as some of these porters can be. It's almost like a kind of middle ground, I would say. So if you do like interesting sort of hybrids of beers, then this is definitely one to go for. I've really been quite impressed with this, and I do like it when you get beers like this that are a little bit quirky and give your palate a test and just offer you something different. So if you want a porter beer that kind of hits the middle ground between a sort of German Schwarzbier and a sort of an American or a London porter, then this is definitely one to go for. It's got a really nice, interesting blend of malty flavours in it, so do check it out. And these guys are a very new brewery, so do go out and support them and help them grow a little bit. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. Overall, this has been a very cool one to review for you. Not such a common beer to find, in fact, but hopefully that will change in the future and they'll be able to start exporting a little bit and stuff. We'll need to wait and see, but a very nice brewery and a very nice beer from a very nice brewery. So as always, please let me know in the comment section below your own thoughts on this beer if you do happen to have tried it before. Always interesting to read them. Hopefully I can return to the Binkert Brauhaus in Breitengüßbach at some point in the near future. Been very cool to do my first beer review. They've got a few others there too. So in the meantime, until my next review, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. But until then, slange you for now, and please add me as a friend on Untappd and like my Facebook page too, and subscribe to the channel. Prost!